Hello, Professor Morgan here, showing you how to do some cool stuff here in Moodle volume 4, version 4. All right, so we've already done some stuff. We've set up some attendance and we've set up our dates and stuff. And this one's going to show you how to do some quizzes and how you would set up a quiz. So let's say I want to set up a quiz for this week right here, okay? And I've already got my edit mode on. So if you don't see this add activity or resource, make sure this is on. See, if I turn that off, then it's like, what am I going to do here? I'm like, oh, edit. I'm going to turn that on. Okay. And now I can add an activity or resource. So I'm going to add a quiz. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go here. And I'm like, okay, well, there's quiz right there. But if you don't see quiz, you can always just go to all. And it's in alphabetical order. And there's quiz. Boom. Okay. So now we're going to do a quiz. So what are we going to call this quiz? We're going to call this Math Quiz 1, okay? And then if you want to have it be a description that they can see, your students will be able to see on Moodle, it'll be like, this is Math Quiz 1. Okay. Again, whatever information you want to put. But if you put anything in the description, you have to click on this box or they won't be able to see it. Okay. So right now we're just setting up that we want to have a quiz. Okay. So there's a few other things that we needed to do. The next one is timing. So this one allows you to set up when you open the quiz and when the quiz closes, and if it's a timed quiz. So let's say that you don't want them to take the quiz until you've actually taught them the material. So you could click the enable button here and say, okay, well, this is January 8th, so I don't want them to be able to take the quiz until, let's say January 8th. Make sure we got the right year. And let's say the class meets at 11 a.m. So I don't want them to be able to start taking the quiz until after class is over. Okay. Whatever. And if you like, when does the quiz close? Okay. So let's say they have, a few days to do it. So that was due on the 8th. Let's go to the, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let's go to the 12th. Whatever. Okay. January. And then 2024. And let's say I'm going to give them until just before midnight. Boom. Okay. So that shows when it's closed. Now, if you want to have a time limit of how long you can do that, then you would enable it and you can select however many minutes that's going to be. That's really up to you. There are students who have, in college, with the American Disabilities Act, they may have extended time. So this may be problematic. It's up to you, but that's how you do it. And then, if you have a time thing, kind of when it expires, there's that under timing. Okay. So that just kind of sets up when it's available. If you can say, look, I don't care when they take the quiz, and you just can disable that. But I would encourage you to have a date of when it's due by, because then it'll just, keep students from attempting quizzes after the due date, right? Okay. So a couple of things you should be aware of is that this is a quiz and it's going to count towards the grade. So how are we going to let it know where it goes? Well, this video that I'm creating right now is part of a series, and one of the first videos was how to set up your grade book. So I want to make sure that this goes into quizzes and assignments. And if you haven't set up your grade book, then this wouldn't be here. Okay, so now I know it's going to go to quizzes and assignments. You can set it, a certain grade that they need to pass, and then you can choose how many attempts you allow them to take it. It's up to you. Okay, then a couple other things for the layout. Again, you can say, let's say you're going to have 20 questions, so you can they can only see 5 questions at a time. It's really up to you. They can all see all the questions on one page. That's just bonus stuff, okay? And then the question behavior, this one is actually kind of pretty cool because it says shuffle within the questions. So that means that it will shuffle the answers. And I mean, that's problematic if you say all of the above. I find this very helpful simply because that way, every time a quiz is, someone goes to take the quiz, the answer's in a different place. And so it helps, mitigate cheating. So they can't tell their friends, oh, the answer is 1 is B and 2 is C and 3 is A is whatever. Because every single time they take the quiz, it's in a different order. Yeah. Okay. And then there's more things down here that you can kind of go through based on the thing, but that's the basic thing. So this is part 1 of this video, okay, which is just setting up that we're going to have a quiz. Okay? And then we're going to save and return to the course. Okay, so boom, now we have a quiz. Yay! But we don't have any questions for it. Oh, okay, now we have to create questions. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to click on the quiz, and it will say, hey, look, you need to add some questions. I'm like, okay, yes, I will. So if you've already created a bunch of questions, you can use a question bank, but we're not going to go into that here. We're going to just start from scratch, okay? So we're going to add a question, okay? And at this point in time, then we need to add whatever. Now, I also like to use the shuffle button here because, again, if you have questions that kind of build on each other, that's maybe not a good idea. But if it's just kind of like random questions, then the questions will be presented in a random order, and the answers we've already set up in a random order. So it really helps, mitigate, cheating, So they actually have to pay attention to what's going on. Okay, so now we need to add a question, and we're going to add a new question. Okay? Boom. And there's all sorts of different types of things you can do here. And again, we're going to keep this very simple, so we'll just do multiple choice, because that seems to be one of the more whatever. And again, you can play with this as you see fit, but this is showing you the basics. So multiple choice. We're going to add a multiple choice question. All right, so the question name is, what do we want this to be? Well, let's call this addition. All right, and the question text is, what is 2 plus 2? Okay, so that's the question. Now, how many points is it going to be? Well, it kind of depends. So let's say the quiz is going to be worth 100 points, and I'm going to do 10 questions. Well, then it'll be 10 points. Let's say I'm going to do 20 questions. Well, then I could always change that to 5 points. Okay. And yes, it's a little work up front because you have to create these questions, but whatever. Okay. You can again select here if you want to have one answer only. Sometimes multiple answers are allowed. Really kind of depends on what kind of questions you're asking. Again, I like shuffle the choices because it just it really kind of just that's already checked because I already checked that before, and I explained that. And if you have a preference on which way you like the questions to be labeled, that's up to you. I don't, it's up, whatever. Okay, so choice 1. Now, if this is where you can put your the question. Now, if it's not super big. If you want to make that bigger, you just kind of go over here to this quarter and just left click and hold it and drag it bigger. Okay. So the question is, again, what's 2 plus 2? Well, because I have it set up so it's going to shuffle the answers, I don't have to, in my mind, think, oh, when was the last time I put it as the correct answer? So I always put the correct answer first because it's not going to always present it first. Okay. And then now, again, sometimes the question is either right or it's wrong. So if it's right, then you'd say, hey, that's 100% correct. But you can see that sometimes you're like, well, it's kind of correct or sort of correct or it's not correct. Okay, so that's choice 1. Now choice 2, let's say we want to give the answer is 3. Well, that's not correct. So you don't have to set this as 0, because actually you can't. It doesn't allow you to do that. So you just keep it as none, and then it's like you don't get any points for that. Choice 3, we'd say is 5. That's wrong. And then choice 4, let's just really mix it up here. Purple is the answer. Yeah, that's not right. Okay. And then you can say choice 5. You don't have to have this many choices. You can have as many as you want, or you can even add more. Okay. And then again, these are some more advanced features which we're not going to get into. So let's go ahead and save the changes. Okay. So now we have added a quiz question. Okay. And so we can do a few different things here. So it actually shows the question. Okay. It doesn't show the answer. Okay. So if I want to see what preview the question, I can click on this, and you'll notice, hey, do you remember how I said when I entered in the answers, the first one was correct? It randomized them. Okay. Cool. All right. It means I don't have to worry about that. Okay. Because some students will figure it out. Oh, when in doubt, select C, right? Well, that doesn't really, this kind of helps prevent that. Now, let's say so right now we're trying to get to 100 points. We have 5, so we need to come up with 19 more questions. Well, let's say we decide, oh, actually, we're only going to do 10 questions. So I can always go in and change how many points something is worth, and then just hit enter, and it'll change the amount of points. Or some questions may be harder than others, and you want to say, hey, these are worth more points than others. Okay, and then you'd hit save. and then that's what it, and then you would just continue on, rinse and repeat, and that's how you set it up. And so now when they take the quiz, the way that it's set up is that it'll automatically grade it for you, and it'll automatically put in the results into your gradebook for you. So yeah, so it's a little work up front, but it pays dividends in the end. All right, and that's how you set up a quiz in Moodle 4 point whatever this version is. All right, there you go.